once again to Clinical Theurgy, episode 59. Episode away from a nice big even number. A lot of episodes, more than a year in running. Last week was a pretty chill week, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we relived our memories. That was a really jarring experience for us, but they also kind of figured out why we weren't able to get more information. I don't think Rion was happy that we didn't get more information, but at least he understood a little bit better. And they basically told us that as a reward, all of our ministry gear was ours. Gulron is granted clearance. He was granted clearance to form his own church. And Ivy will be assisted with her family issues. They told Niev that they found this dead body outside the capital, and it's promising that it's a possible way for her to go home. Because Niev's the only official outsider, the body is being sent to Knightsbridge, and they requested Niev be there for questioning when they are able to revive it. We went back to Moirin to tell him the good news that Goron was alive. And he was able to also, while we were there, cure Ivy. We went home, and Zigmar's was waiting mostly for Ivy. I think he also had business with Antaeus. But Antaeus wanted to go home and get the Shadow Mastiff first, and he ran into Tehran, and there's some freaky things going on with Tehran. And then after his little incident with Tehran, then he went back over to Niev's house and was wanting to share the memory of meeting Kandor, so that if something happened to him, that one of us would remember it. And then when that happened, then Kandor started talking to Niev, so that was an interesting experience. Zigmar's also took Ivy aside and was asking, like, did she trust the party? They messed up their hair to make Niev think that they had done something, I guess. And yeah, it was a pretty chill session.
Yeah. Well, we find the party in need of some dice rolls to start the session. Everybody's got some HP they need. Yeah, that is a reroll. Antaeus, that is a keep for Antaeus, unfortunately.
Okay.
And that is a keep for Niev as well. Full run, not even ready for the game. Character sheet open.
Rewarded with a high roll.
Yep. Rewarded for your insolence.
Let's see.
I got exactly average. Woohoo.
You actually got below average. If you'd have taken average, it's 5.
I'm a D8.
Right, it's 5. Because it's not 0 to 8, it's 1 to 8. So 4.5 is the average, which they allow you to round up to 5.
Gotcha. Well, basically average.
Basically average. Just like my life. Basically. Oh wait, no, that's not true at all.
Basically basic?
Oh. I do not like pumpkin spice.
Some good HP.
So, you all know you've got some time to yourselves, time to reflect, time to discuss, time to get things done. What is some stuff that all of you want to do over the next little bit of time? I got a massive list, not necessarily massive, but I got a decent sized list from Antaeus and his plans. But what about the rest of you? What are some, besides, we know Gulron and Churchy McChurchface.
Yeah, but just specifically, in my understanding that I still have to get the approval of the other clerics, right? Or no?
You still will need the approval of the other places, but you've basically had it solidified for you that this will likely mostly be sort of checking in and not necessarily having to do any sort of extra work.
Excuse me. Yeah. So I would still like try to keep check in on the Sunol.
Oh, that we will be doing. That will be its own thing with you because that does actually matter.
So yeah, I'll just be checking on like the tasks I need to complete. So yeah, that's it basically.
I mean, I think I'm just sort of chilling until they get me more like information about. He said they were gonna try to assist me. I mean, I don't know. That's kind of Ivy's only goal right at the moment is to figure out the last part of this stuff. So I think she'd just spend a lot of time like in the downtime, probably like re-going over the things she has, trying to talk to her weapon, be like, what do I do next?
Niev probably, because this is sort of her pattern, she would just be, mostly just working like out in the garden, watering her armor, and planning a dinner party because that's what she does.
So let's talk about Ivy, since Ivy had stated that one of the things she would do is implore to her weapon for guidance. Your weapon is very interested in the twisting sands to the northeast of Wusser. There is more there that we can gather. Things that will help make sure and solidify our victory, our freedom.
Does this still sound like the voices of my parents talking?
In your head, they sound similar but different.
What in the world could be near the sands that I could gather? That seems like certain death.
The great old ones lie there. Those who are still trapped. They have been only conquered but not controlled. They make chaos for the country.
If the country was only able to control these things, what makes you think I could do anything more?
The blade glows with an intense dark energy. You are the one that can do everything about them. You are the one with the lineage that gives you power unlike that of mere normal mortals. You could be the thing that solves the problem.
Yeah, I think I'm just gonna think on that and maybe go do research on what the heck the great old ones are.
Okay. So that's gonna take us a little bit to Antaeus for a moment. Antaeus, you, after a little bit of things have sort of settled down, and you can get some separate time with Zigmars. He'll want to speak with you in your office of sorts. Your office is kind of expanded a bit as he brings you by there. There's a few different areas.
2 rooms?
There's one larger room, and then you have an office. And the larger room is now sort of operating with these sort of this segmentation that's starting to get set up. Almost like they're preparing for some sort of retail end. But without anything actually being created in that exact pattern. There's no advertisement to the public or anything like that. It's still very muted from the outside and very run down, but on the inside it is nothing near the same. And he'll take you back into your office, and he'll knock on the metallic walls that glow very faintly with a soft green energy.
Interesting.
We should be safe to communicate here. Antaeus, you've asked me to do a number of things for you. And I have been happy to, because it has been to our mutual benefit. But what's your big plan here? This all seems so small, and I find it hard to believe that your interests are just this small time.
Well, some of these things can easily be achieved by interns or something of the like, which is part of the reason that I wanted to get this underway, because some of these were just ideas I had that I thought would be good to expand upon, but not necessarily worth my time to figure out the minutiae of it all.
Well, but that still doesn't give us a central focus. We need something to stick them to start. We need to keep their direction focused. What should be the biggest, what do you think the most important project here is?
Well, I think that the biggest thing here is getting business underway as far as goes with the study and creation of the pharmaceuticals, for lack of a better term, and everything that comes with that, I suppose.
Well, then I suppose I've got some good news for you. He will pull out like one of the big leaves that you'll know to be from the arcane agave. This has turned out to be quite a surprise. We've known for a while that magic can have a very pronounced effect on plant life, but this strain is much more powerful than we expected. And he'll like take the leaf and he'll kind of like roll it up for a moment. He'll like reach over to a device that's kind of near your desk, and he'll slide it into that device, and he'll close up the device. The device will get like very, very warm. And you'll see like bits of this substance start to kind of drip out of the agave. And it kind of runs down a system that funnels it into a jar. And he'll take out the jar and set it down in front of you. And it's a very small jar, maybe about the size of a potion jar. And then he'll like reach into a pocket and pull out a monocle, which he'll hand to you. And when you look through it, it will blind you to see what is within the jar. But as your sight kind of like comes back, you'll realize what you've seen. What he has in this jar is raw, liquefied ether.
Really?
I was surprised we could manage to do this. It seemed like the thing people have talked about is myth, legend, but it's here. Drops of this is as valuable as having hours of work and research. We inject this into things, we can dramatically improve the strength of them. If we took your pharmaceuticals, for example, these ideas that you have, we could do things that even magic can't do by itself.
Yes. Much in the way that there's many things that technology can do, replicate magic, but without it being magic per se.
Well, as we've discovered, some of the problem is eventually people become resistant to magical effects if they're under a problematic enough situation, or like yourselves. I would assume, actually, if you guys were to ever end up in a situation without magic for a couple of days, you'd likely be incredibly ill.
Yes, the water deprivation would be a problem as well, considering the ring of sustenance and all the water here seems it's all magical in some way.
Yes. Essentially, at this point, you are almost living magic. Not quite the same, but I've heard that term used when people are junkies for it. You could say the same thing about the blood man that lives in the Northeast.
And same about Ivy as well, but
Oh, she's quite magic.
yes, but not quite in the same way. But yes, she's very interesting.
Well, what route shall we start in the pharmaceuticals department? What do you want to try to expand upon or enhance? And we'll start testing out the ether in these objects.
I suppose. Well, I think that one of the things that I would be very interested to see is the effects of it on. What about this? Sanity seems like such a strange word to use for it. But cognitive behaviors, helping people cope with things. Madness seems to be an issue that has been around here and mostly untreatable unless you're sent to the V, and, well, we know how that ended up.
We'll see
Speaking
what we
of
can
which,
do. In terms of experimentation, though, testing,
yes.
how do we go about testing? Blind, or do we inform people?
Well, I believe that perhaps we could do. I don't know if both would be a good option. I mean, of course, we could compensate.
Both.
We could compensate them for their time, of course. I wouldn't want them to deal with something that's unknown to them and not make some kind of something in return.
This will work well. I think we can work with this, especially with the research I'm going to be pulling in from Levi. We'll see what they've got.
Excellent, so they were able to make it.
Well, I haven't fully gotten information back yet, but we'll see soon, I would hope.
I appreciate that.
It is important for me to make sure my business investments are both diversified and conjoined, and you'll provide the best stream of income in both ways.
Yes, and speaking of which, there's blueprints that I've thought of. I haven't quite ironed out the details on paper yet, but for something more lighthearted in the entertainment sector, something that would provide us with a sustainable income, aside from this, of course.
What are you thinking?
Something along the lines of what are those machines called? The ones where you're able to shared experiences. Something more
you're
communal.
talking about the new viewing globe connectivity that's been developed. They're under heavy ownership right now and control, but we can try to break that market.
Should I even bother asking whose control they're under?
That's tightly sealed at the moment.
I have a feeling I'm aware of who controls that, unfortunately, but I suppose we'll find out.
Well, the current company manufacturing the products is sourced out of Golden Peace.
Is that anything that I've ever heard of?
Golden Peace is the city to the south.
Oh.
They refer to the units as Golden Globes.
Are they award winning?
They have won many awards.
I guess I don't know much about business out there. Never been.
It's a place that people go. Not a particularly interesting place in a lot of ways, but it exists. Good place for business, though. If you want to be industrial. There's a lot of belief that it's a central point that a series of ley lines run through, making it perfect for developing various bits of arcana.
That is very interesting. Perhaps we should look into expanding there at some point.
Future tasks. Let's try to stay focused here, Antaeus.
Of course, just putting it out into the ether, so to speak.
Yes.
Speaking of which, any idea of how this would react?
A lot of experiments are required first.
Gotcha.
But we have plenty to do, plenty of experiments. I'll keep you posted on everything as we learn it.
Very appreciated. And I will do the same if I come across anything new and exciting that you should be privy to. Still haven't quite tried these yet. Show him the bottles that he gave me. But we've been moving around quite a bit, so.
Well, when you get some time.
Yeah, it seems like something that should be done in a safe environment. But appreciate it.
You're welcome. Well, I need to be on to other things. I hope you have a good rest of your couple of days. And I'll be busy for a little while, but I'll keep in touch.
Same here. I have a few things that I need to study, but I should be around for the most part.
Excellent. All right. Ghoulron, you have a meeting that you know of with the Order of Suinol. We bring up. Where are you? Music that I wanted. I don't think I dragged it in here. I did not. You have a meeting though with these clerics while I am getting this out and other followers. It kind of, again, it was a very weird way this was scheduled. It was kind of scheduled for you, pre-prepared. And you just kind of get a notification, like a reminder message saying that your scheduled meeting for this day at this time. And they look forward to your presence and what you have to discuss. Is there anything you want to do to prep beforehand, or to is there anything specific you want to wear, or anybody you want to bring along?
I definitely am gonna wear. I think I have those specific robes I got commissioned.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just check my inventory. I think it's like specifically Krasgron robes-ish things that I got made. Where is it? Cleric robes of Krasgron. I don't know. 50 GP value. I don't know when I got these, but yeah, definitely wearing those. In terms of bringing anyone with me, maybe Moirin if he's interested.
Yeah, he's
just like, I don't know. Maybe I need to like someone to vouch for me.
He is happy to come with you.
Yeah. And then during any downtime before this, I would be fully reading the Krasgron Holy Book text and resuming my work on transcribing it so that I don't have to give Tejas the original to make copies of. So I just would be trying to like work on a transcription of it. And hopefully that'll help Gluron like just more know the stories more offhand by reading them, writing them. So
yeah, I would agree that would have that desired effect. Going through it helps your mind be better in tune with it. And I'd say over the couple of days, you have a lot more time to really focus and get it done. And you're able to complete it over this time. You've been working on this for quite a while, and the extra little boost of free time and a lot to focus on and a lot of research really kind of lets you get the whole project completed. Is there anything specific as well from all of that transcribing that you want to know?
So Sunal is the god. It's like the child of Thoth and Sascha, right?
Correct. Very focused on knowledge and there being sort of like a balance and understanding that like keeping the information available is important. But there is information that should be probably kept from people, and information that should definitely be kept public, and that should definitely be protected. A lot about keeping information available, but sort of having a requirement to gather it yourself in order to gain it.
Yeah, so that I guess Gularon would try to play into that to like kind of like sway them or impress them. So I guess just getting his story straight of how he is essentially he discovered this god himself, got the knowledge himself, and he's trying to bring it out to light. And if there's any stories in this text of like I guess the origins of like why Krasgron isn't like a known god on the surface. If there was an attempt to hide this knowledge away or something like that, would be interesting to discuss with the Sonal clerics.
Okay. You and Moirin can make your way to the temple. Moirin will be, like I said, very overjoyed that you are bringing him with you. Sort of as your ambassador, kind of vouching for you.
I think subconsciously, maybe even consciously, Gulron's hoping Moirin would even switch to Krasgron, like after seeing like all the stuff I'm doing with him, and it's like this god is like actually here for us, and it's like he's half dwarf as well, so it's like some stronger connection to him. So yeah, I think Gulron like is subconsciously trying to like plant the seed in his mind of like, hey, this new god is around and stuff. So yeah.
You will get into the Temple of Sunal, and you'll notice as you come in, this temple now looks different than it did before. There is a sort of semicircle table that kind of surrounds the area, and there is a couple of seats opened up and prepared for specifically for you. Like there's a little nameplate for you. As Moirin comes in, one of the nameplates fills in for Moirin. and you can both take your seat. And as you take it, like a couple of people will gesture as well, just in case you don't notice it. And as you take a seat, one of them will stand. You are the one known just as Gulran, is that correct?
That is correct.
And I see you bring with you Moirin. Why have you chose Moirin to come at your side?
Well, he raised me, and he's also a good vouch for my character. And he oversaw lots of my introductory clerical duties. He probably knows me the best out of anyone.
A good reason, I would think. Many of the other people around the table will nod. As a hero, I assume that you have made certain assumptions about the ease at which things should flow from this point forward. Would you say that's a true statement?
Not necessarily. I was given the admin approval to construct my church, but I know I still require the approval of the other clerics and the churches to approve such a thing. I by no means think my task is complete or easy at this point, for sure.
We have it on good authority that you've already managed to secure, directly or indirectly, most of the rest of the approval of the gods, aside from the few that will likely never approve anyone. I feel that we're really your last point of requirement. Now, I am curious, Gulran. Why leave the arms of Shashat?
This was a choice I had to make, not easily and not on a whim. It took much contemplation, and unfortunately, the goddess, she's absent, and my trials and adventuring required an active and present god to keep my friends alive and safe, as well as myself. I tried to hold out as much as I could, but some new goddess, the mistress, made me do things that I wasn't comfortable with. And across my adventures, I stumbled upon Kraskaran, and it just felt right. It felt like I belonged. He never asked anything of me that made me uncomfortable, and only offered me aid and strength. And I knew that this was the god for me.
Another person adjacent to him will rise for a moment, and he'll sit down. Now, Gulran, how are we to know that you're not of weak will? That this isn't some pressure you're getting to take this action, but as soon as you experience enough resistance, or you feel like your minor god has started to speak less, you're not ready to move on to the next one. There are many minor gods out there that would wish to have a seat like this. What makes Kraskaran and you so different and so immalleable?
Well, Kraskaran is the god of resolve and strength, honor, glory. There are many times when I, as a mere mortal, have wavered, but Kraskaran's strength had kept my resolve in place. The only reason I am speaking to you is because of my resolve to get this task completed. I Not sure if you're aware. I'm sure many of the high clerics are aware when such thing is performed. I was brought back from the gates of the afterlife
So
to complete this one task. It was this one task that kept me from crossing over to Kraskaron's graces. This is my one regret, my one task I had not completed that I need to, or enough that I cannot rest until it is done.
Another person will rise up. So you would say that your resolve is showcased in your unwillingness to die simply to see your god reach the awareness you feel he deserves.
Well, not a fan of the phrasing. I would gladly sacrifice my life for a number of things.
But you would rather not rest if it meant losing out on letting the world know who Kraskaron was.
Yes, if I given the chance, I would sacrifice myself to save a friend, but given the choice to come back and not rest until this task is complete, I would take it, and as I have done, I did take it. This was the one promise I made to Kraskaron as he blessed me with strength. I vowed to do this for my deity, and I will not rest until it is done.
Yet another person will rise. Gulran, you said you spoke to the mistress. You said that she was whispering in your ear. Your Sashat's old followers flocked to her like candy. What about the mistress was so uninviting to you?
To be honest, I forced myself to give her a chance. Initially, I had tried to reject her as long as I could because I did not want to give up on Sashat. But there was a point where my friends needed my help and Sashat would not answer my call. So I gave her a shot. And I never really felt comfortable with this. Felt like, I don't want to speak ill of the gods, but felt like she was manipulating me, making me do things she knew I didn't want to do just for her own pleasures. Felt like an abusive relationship, whereas Kraskaron aids me and helps me and never asks of anything that I'm not comfortable with. But the mistress, she whispered things that she took a second to know any of part of me is nothing I would ever do. Just for her own, I don't know why she wants it done, I assume other followers flocked to her because she made grand promises to me if I would only complete these tasks that I had no interest in doing. And she seems more of a outgoing goddess, not more silent or reserved like Kraskaron. Much like myself, I like to exemplify the traits of my deity and myself that come naturally. I'm not an outgoing or charismatic person like she seemed to want from me.
My concern that you voice in this, though, is it seems that you didn't get an answer, so you just accepted the first voice that came to you. Why not reject immediately? Did you find yourself desperate?
Well, I did reject immediately until I had no choice. I was not younger. I was much more inexperienced at that point in my life. and we were about to take off on a great adventure with high risk, and I had no idea or which god to turn to for help. And this one spoke to me, claimed she was taking Shashat's mantle. I rejected at first, thinking her a liar or some spellcaster playing with me or something, but eventually her words proved true. And I tried to give her a shot since she alleged she was the new quote-unquote Shashat, taking her place. So I figured that she would be similar to Shashat in some regards, but I was mistaken. And I don't regret accepting her aid in the moment because it helped deliver some words to my lost friend, who other words would not have heard my voice ever again. I think at this point, like a tear would build up in Gluron's eye from
The original person will stand back up. You have shown that you are an exemplar for your god. I think little of us doubt that you have been given power by him. What is the highest circle of magic you are able to reach now?
upon being brought back from the brink of the death, Kraskaran has afforded me the sixth sphere of power.
Do you know for certain that you can touch the sixth sphere and manifest it?
Out of character, have I rested and prayed for my spells that I tried to get?
You've prayed for your spells, but you have not yet cast.
I haven't cast it. No, I haven't. But I assume it feels the same as like a fifth circle. Like I feel like I can do it. I just haven't done it, right?
You feel like something has been granted to you there. Yes.
Okay. I have yet to display this magic because, as I said, upon my resurgence to the living, I felt like this was afforded to me, but it was merely a few weeks ago, and I've been in town since. I've not needed to cast much magic as of late.
What have you prepared for today?
I have prepared the mighty stone skin to exemplify my visage to look like my deity, eagle soul to protect myself from evil outsiders, and the word of recall, cleric teleport.
He'll think for a moment. Show to us your stone skin.
All right.
You have
They'll afford you the material components.
Yeah, I never picked those up yet. So yeah, I assume they have like some nice display of these components on like a table or something.
Yeah, they have somebody actually bring them out on a tray.
So yeah, I'll take like a handful of the granite and diamond dust, and kind of it's just a standard action. Yeah, standard.
Yep.
So I'll just spray the dust over myself and chant the words, and hopefully become skin of stone.
Yeah, you will sprinkle it, and you will see your stone, your skin start to solidify, but you'll notice there are cracks in it. It looks as if there is already some measure of heavy impact that you've taken with this. The effect in its material form is that all numerical effects are reduced by 50%. aside from like the aside from things that are costs. This is because, like, out of character, this is because Krazkaran is not a fully established god in the Pantheon. So there are circles that Krazkaran cannot fully reach. He can give you the power, but it's kind of like taking extra to make sure that you have this ability. But even still, as you manifest even part of this, there is a momentary pause in everyone's speech and a bit of a, like, gasped breath from a few people. We were expecting there to be nothing from this, one of the voices will pipe up.
Why would you expect that?
Krazkaran is a god of minimal populations, coming from places unknown, unseen, unheard. Krazkaran is not a god of the deep below, nor a god from the surface, leaving it to be only a handful of dwarves and maybe their similar kind. But this shows more than expected. Perhaps it is your heroism that has brought at least faith in people to the idea of Krazkaran. Perhaps it is your own personal ministry that has done so.
On my travels, I have been spreading the word of Krazkaran. Perhaps these small prayers have aided in allowing some strength in this matter.
Every voice of acceptance will bring your God closer to all of us. It is our understanding that you have already spoken with the voices of a few of those who have audited you. The gods themselves have deemed your actions and your god to be acceptable. If you...
How do you know about that?
Don't. Suinal is not quiet about knowledge that matters.
I did have a vision of some sort of trial where it felt like the gods were similar to this almost, but I couldn't be sure for sure. All the images were blurry, and I had a feeling of it, and I felt Krazkaran's hand beside me and him on trial as well. But I thought this maybe it could have been a dream, or I didn't know if it should be real or not.
One is not to know for certain when these things happen. But it did happen. We are nervous and anxious to invite you into the ranks of the Divine Gardens. Nervous in that we know little about this god aside from what you have preached. And if it turns out there is an unknown twist, then this could be of great concern for all of us.
I am working on that. I've been transcribing this holy book, and I'll kind of pull out the original stone tablet. My friend is friends with the publishers. I'm working on transcribing and getting more holy books out so that you can read it yourself or look over the histories of the god.
Then our final ruling is this. When each of us has had in our hands a copy of this book and 2 weeks to complete its readings, we will make our final decision. If more of us agree that it should be done, you may start your church. We are your last check.
This is most gracious, and I thank you all for hearing me out, and I will work to get these books in your hands as soon as possible.
Excellent. Good luck, Gulran.
Thank you.
Yeah. And with that, why don't we take a short break? When we come back, we will see what happens next. See you shortly.
Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance.
Stepped away, but yeah, so I think it sounds like for the most part some time can pass. I think, Antaeus, you had one more thing around town that you really wanted to do. The rest of your stuff kind of requires some time and processing in between.
Yes, I also did have to do a little bit of retraining, but yes. What else
Yeah, you can be doing that in the background as well.
Okay. Gotcha. Yes, that the only unfortunate thing about that is that the middle one is irrelevant, but that's okay. Okay, that is what you said. I just wanted to make sure when I asked you about it, I just wanted to make sure that
is the
explicitly
trade-off.
what it was. Yeah, but it's totally worth it because the last one is extremely good. But yeah, I need to retrain. And then the other one I won't be able to get until 13th level anyway, so that's irrelevant.
Yeah, so you can be doing your retraining, but in the meantime, there was one extra thing that you wanted to do in here that is not a time-based thing.
A bunch of studying stuff. Which one?
There's
a couple of them.
Primary bullet point number 3, or 4 rather.
Ah, yes, that one. That's what I thought you were talking about, but I wasn't sure if you were talking about the other one.
Yeah, the rest of them will kind of take time or will kind of happen when they happen.
Yeah, the other, I thought you might have been talking about the one below that, but yes.
No, that will be
specific.
A separate thing that we are going to do in its own thing.
Yeah, I thought that might happen, but
yep.
I need to stop picking in my head. But yes, I will make my way over there.
Yeah, you head over to the shop, where the young lady that runs this little magic shop happens to be Marjolaine. She will look at you surprised as you come in, but put back on her kind of business face. Hello.
Yes, hello. Not really sure where to begin with this, but I feel like I should apologize.
I was kind of thinking the same thing if you weren't gonna say it.
That I should apologize, or it's irrelevant.
Look, I was probably a little, I don't know, much.
The situation is very, very unusual. I understand that, and the reaction would probably be a normal reaction for most people in that situation. I just wanted to, apologize for, I don't know, the weirdness of it all, and for even bringing those people unintentionally to your place of business. It seems like they're still looking for me.
I don't think that's the part that really bothers me. It's the part where you just left.
I just left. When?
A few days ago? A week ago? And you've been back in town for a while, and I thought I would see you sooner.
Well, it seemed as if you needed some time to process things, and I didn't want to make my presence cause more difficulty with that.
I suppose I can understand that. I don't know. I've been reading more of those books, and it all seems weird reading it. Like,
which books?
Trying to figure out if I did something wrong or if you did something wrong.
Oh, those books, yes. Well, I don't think that anybody intentionally did anything wrong. I think it's just something that neither of us are really, especially me, particularly skilled at.
Yeah. I don't want to give up, and I don't want to just be afraid. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't continue the flow of understanding and learning. I mean, not
Appreciate
that that's
that.
the only thing that I'm concerned with, but
Yes, of course. Just with things that have been going on recently, and I'm more and more concerned about, I guess, specifically myself, but those around me as well. Especially because it seems like whoever tried to follow me here also tried to follow me to the ministry. And I've had conversations with other people that give me reason to be concerned. A lot of people looking for me, apparently.
why are so many things interested in you? Are they interested in all of the people you travel with?
Them specifically? No. Other people interested in the people that we travel with? Yes. There are plenty of people that are looking for various people that I travel with for various reasons. Some less nefarious than others, but actually, yeah, I don't know. There's a lot. There's a lot going on with all of them. People being brought back, but not being themselves. Weird types of magic.
Speaking of not being themselves, do you know Turan Tarpinian?
I feel like it's safer to say that I did, given how things seem to have turned out.
Yeah, he's very dark now.
I'm assuming you've at least met him before?
He used to be a regular mine. I used to have him come in and pay for a lot of information and understanding about spells and magic. He was always quite interested in a wide variety of things, and always interesting to find out how they related to whatever case he was working on when things got closed.
Yes, he's been through a lot, and
Oh, I remember when he lost his wife and child. He was a mess for a while. He took a lot of it out on the ministry. A lot of people lost their jobs at his hand.
that puts into place quite a bit of information as of late. He is an emotional person and reacts accordingly, it seems.
I don't understand though what would drive him to be like this. I mean, when last I saw him, there was a bit of joy in him, and it was like something sucked all the joy out of him and then replaced it with misery.
There's a lot of information in regards to that situation that I believe I know that would fill in probably most of those blanks. If you'd like to know, just concerned about getting you involved in some of this information. Certain people don't like the spreading of some information, and I'm concerned that it could be detrimental.
We
to do
can't
so.
we can't lead our lives being afraid of Thoth's involvement in everything. Besides, information is on the lack of information only empowers him. Letting it spread is how you solve it.
This is true, but I also wouldn't want to intentionally put you in more danger by being associated with me or the rest of us.
I mean,
But that is a good point,
I already
though.
feel like I'm associated with you, and when shadowy figures come into my shop asking strange questions about why I've been talking to you, it feels
Well,
like you just kind of attract danger.
unfortunately, not intentional, of course. Speaking of which, that hasn't been a thing that's happened since the last time it's happened, is it? Oh, hopefully not.
I mean, Tehran was in here during the days that you were gone.
Well, yes. I mean, the other people, though. He could be in league with them, but I don't know. It'd be weird for him to.
Not that I know of. But would I?
Okay. That's a good point, I suppose. Well, if you'd like, I could tell you more about this. I actually have something. This might be a little personal, but I don't know if you probably wouldn't have seen these, but I kept this with me since I met him.
She'll look at at them. We swapped stories a while back. I was a lot younger then, and I didn't really know as much about business, and I traded a lot of information for useful things. It's all quite sad.
It is. Wish there was something I could do to help him not be in the situation that he is without endangering more people by giving up this other information. I don't know. I don't know what to do anymore.
Well, I'm in ear if you want to talk about it.
Certainly, that'd probably be very helpful to get a second opinion outside of the group. No offense to any of them, but it seems like we talk to mostly each other and that's it, and outside of us we don't, well, some Moiran and a few other people, but actually, sorry for being a little all over the place. Are you familiar with Maha?
I know she's in charge in the ministry, but that's all I know. It's not recently. It's been some time, but she took over things there.
Yes. Spoken with her recently, and while I trust her, I think that finding out more information would be helpful as well, to make sure that I'm not getting myself into something else. I don't know. But yes, if you have some time, I've got plenty of time for the next few days at least, and like we could, I don't know, go over some things, talk about things, do what people do that aren't adventuring together, I suppose.
Yeah. She will spend a few of your days in town with you, listening to you talk things through to yourself, offering a little bit of opinion here and there, but your problems are so much larger in scope and magnitude than sometimes it seems like she can comprehend. but she listens, and you, even through the awkwardness and uncomfortableness, there is a sense of concern and care that comes through in everything. And a sense of, like, maybe companionship, Antaeus might perceive it as.
Heard about that before. But yeah, I mean, I would also try to get to know more about her as well in that time.
Yeah.
To make myself not feel so weird about using her as a soundboard effectively.
No, her life is pretty plain. She lived a fairly mundane life. She grew up in a family that followed Suinol. They spent a great deal of time, like, worshiping and teaching, and a lot of their activities had a lot to do with the spread of information. And she found that, unfortunately, like, she didn't do as well with the whole education aspect, like following in their footsteps. She could do okay with people, but there was, like, a bit of a disconnect for her, and she couldn't really understand why. But for some reason, like, the idea of maintaining these magical items and distributing them and selling them to people seemed to work out well for her. She talks about how sometimes she has conflicts with people who come in and they're, like, looking for deals, but they don't really have anything to offer, and she doesn't really know how to make a deal with somebody who doesn't have anything, and you can't just call them worthless. She's learned, but you have to, like, let them know that what they have has no value. It's very hard being someone who sells things for both money and valuable information.
Actually, when we're speaking about Thoth, at some point I'd like to inquire if she has any idea as to why, or if I'm off base, about it feeling like Thoth has a larger presence around here, in Sierra Savant specifically.
So she will she'll remind you of something when you ask that question. Something that is maybe sometimes forgotten by people, or something that is not something that's heavily promoted, but she'll remind you that this is supposedly the land that Thoth forged. That this is, like, when the gods were like first developing the world and working on where things should go, when the pantheon first had its great expansion, one of the demands of Thoth, who is believed to be the spark that created the expanded pantheon, Thoth wanted to create a place that was his own, a place where things would be managed and empowered by magic, and a place where things could be safe and secure and cloistered away from the mania, as he called it, that was the rest of the continents.
Actually, when she tells me that, Antaeus is probably going to be a little upset with himself for not having put that together, because it seems almost obvious as to why all the protections are up and why everything is so secretive here and why there's such a heavy influence.
It's okay. You don't have to be so hard on yourself. There's a lot to remember at times, and you don't necessarily have the same skills or and she'll, like, tap on her headband. Access to things that I do. Speaking of which, I have a book for you that you might be interested in.
What you say?
Yeah, I've managed to collect a few of them over the years. I've used a lot of them myself. But it's about time that I shared them.
Used them?
She'll go back for a moment into a spot, and then a little while later she'll come out with this massive book. It's the only book you've ever seen that looks comparable in weight and size to the Book of Krazkaran.
Not made out of the same materials, I'm assuming.
No. I wouldn't call it light reading, but it's very beneficial reading.
That is fascinating. I'll kind of try to without. I don't know if I'm assuming it's all closed or.
Yeah.
I'll try to read what the covers have to say.
The cover simply says, on the subject of critical thinking. Volume 1.
Oh. Very interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This will give me much to think about, much to read. I'll kind of jam it into the bag of holding.
It is a tight fit, but you can manage to get it in there. Da-dunch.
Giggity.
In the time that passes as well, all of you will finally receive your income. And you can all make your decision now about whether you want to stay in your current living arrangements or if you want to move to the larger properties.
Keep my current living arrangements.
Okay, so you'll get the enhancements done on your property.
I'm gonna move to the bigger property.
Okay, are you gonna start an animal sanctuary?
I might. Honestly, Niev has the hope of possibly going home, so she's thinking, well, if Brianna comes back, then she can have, what she would want, kind of thing.
Cool run, Antaeus.
I know I mentioned that I wanted to discuss the particulars with the dude because I want if possible, I want the protections and stuff to be built into the church eventually. I want that upgrade or whatever that he's offering, to be put into my church.
Ooh,
my quarters could be upgraded or something.
Let's actually have this roleplay here. As you'll have, there's a couple of people that come around to confirm with you how you want things done. And these two will meet you at your home, Gul'ran, and there'll be a knock.
Hello? Who's there?
We are from the ministry. We are here to discuss your arrangements for housing.
Oh, yes. Sorry, the name's escaping me. Who was the one who gave us this information about this?
So it was originally told to you by Rian.
Rian, right.
But that is not the voice that is at your door.
Yes, I mentioned to Rian that the possibility of getting some arrangements for my new church once it's built. Perhaps postponing these upgrades until I get my quarters built there?
We have had quite a measure of discussion with Mr. Johansson on your behalf and about your arrangements. And here is our offer to you. We are bound in some ways to not be able to do the work for you. But what we can offer to you is all of the magic that would come with the upgrade delivered to your home. And if you can find a resource to install it, we do offer that as an option if you wanted to install it in your home by yourself.
That sounds fantastic. I'm sure I can wrangle up a contractor to do this for me once I have my quarters installed in my new church.
You mean your home? And he'll
Right.
wink.
Yes, my home.
We will not be auditing anything like this, so we trust that you'll get things done. The upgrades and equipment will arrive over the next few weeks, and just see to it that things get installed. We don't want these things getting picked up and stolen.
Right. But, if I'm getting renovations done to my house, that might take a while. Are these things okay to stick around for a while?
Yes, they have no limited shelf life.
Ah, okay.
Once you activate them, though, they are activated. They will not be able to be moved.
Right. How are you giving me? Are these going to be like items, or what exactly are you giving me to store in my house for now?
They will arrive in a series of crates. They will be brought inside. We'll have to use some magic to open up your walls, of course, to get them in. But we'll close them afterwards.
What are my walls made of?
Your walls are made out of stone. Yep. A lot of the architecture around here is stone.
Okay. Do you know who I need to see about? Do I need a permit for any renovations I want to do to my house?
Permits are not required for renovations unless they are potentially harmful to either externals or internals to your household.
No harmful. Just maybe might be, changing a wall here or there, adding a wall here or there,
But those are fine things to do.
Excellent. Out of character, what Gulran is planning here, well, I guess that's in whatever. I want to create a, I don't know, I guess, mechanically, I need to, be hauling more stone into here somehow. But, I mean, over time, I guess I could do this. But I guess my idea is to safeguard these things until my church is built. I want to actually, build, use stone shape over time and just, cover a wall so that it looks like my apartment's smaller. But then, actually hide all the magic stuff, behind this, stone wall or something.
So what I would say you can do, because they all have a very deep stone foundation, you could actually just, make a large storage area in the foundation and then put the stuff in there and then seal over the top of it with stone. And then when you're ready, you can, get it all hoisted out.
Uncover it. Yeah, so I want, that's perfect, actually, because stone will block detect magic and stuff. So I want to, basically just hide it so if someone were to break in here, I don't lose all this magic shit or something.
No, you can make all the preparations over the next few days to get it all.
I want to do it as secretly as I can. I don't want people to know I have a.
Well, yeah, you can do it you start off, you build a wall behind wherever you're going to put it, and then you start the process of digging it out. And then once they bring everything in, you can kind of move the crates then behind the wall over a couple of days to get them all hidden.
Excellent.
And what about Antaeus?
That is a good question.
And is this information that you would have let Zigmars know about?
Oh, about the potential upgrade?
Yes.
I don't see why not.
Okay. So Zigmar's suggestion is similar to what is kind of going on with Gulran. Zigmar's will say that it would be most valuable if we could get the equipment. If you could manage to get the equipment delivered separately and tell them you have a team to install it, we could start moving the equipment into your office and start building beneath the office.
Probably a good idea. Seems like it'd be harder for people to find things without knowing where they are.
Exactly.
It's good. Seems to be a problem for me as of late, unfortunately.
Well, this will give you some privacy, and I'd much rather have you around the office a little bit more. We can sort of start a different process with your home. Maybe we can convert your home into a place where others could stay.
Not a bad idea. Very good idea, actually.
It's what I'm known for.
Yes. You are definitely very, very appreciated with your ability to put the jumbled mess of words I give you into some sort of structure.
Well, I couldn't do it without your intellect. It is sometimes, I must admit, a limit of mine to be able to do all the things, to think all the things that you can think, but I think that's where I can help, is to streamline it, make it more digestible by others and useful.
Yes, I think sometimes I think too much, maybe.
We all do. Well, maybe not all of us. I don't know if your friend Ghoulran thinks too much. He seems a little more right to the point. And
Yes, but
Ivy's great and all. But I don't know if there's a lot of thinking that goes on up there.
yes, I think they are a little more gung-ho, a little more rash, for lack of a better term.
I would call Ivy exciting.
Well, yes, it's exciting. I don't think we're talking about the same things, Emma, are we?
We are and we're not.
I suppose I'll leave it at that. Yes, it is. It has been entertaining. It has been interesting. I've learned quite a bit.
Now, Antaeus, you're just brushing this off. I've seen you with that young lady.
Ivy?
Not Ivy. That girl thing that is as bookish as you are at times.
Girl thing? I know who you're referring to. I'm not sure why the phrasing "girl" thing.
I don't know what you're titling yourselves. I know that your kind like to create life bonds or something like that.
Is that a thing that my kind tend to do?
It depends. Like, he might be picking and choosing what he wants to believe of elven culture, or like twisting bits and pieces of it. Elves will sometimes form like very long bonds with each other that like humans might consider like unthinkable. But like an elf's relationship, like elven relationships, are just long because they live for a long time. But they also like will take long separations from each other. Like, they might go on a vacation, and an elven vacation might be a year, 2 years. It might even be starting another life for like 10 or 15 or 20 years, and then coming back to their life. Like, you never know. When an elf says, "I'm just going to take a short break," do they mean a week? Do they mean a month? Do they mean a decade?
Yeah, it's shortened comparatively to whose lifespan, I guess.
Exactly.
Yes, I suppose that is a traditionally elven thing to some degree. But what about her?
I mean, you act like it's weird that I'm talking about Ivy, and yet here you are, like, bring your own girl back home.
Well, no, I didn't think it was weird that you were talking about Ivy. It's just, there are certain aspects of your relationship with her that I don't think are necessary for me to know.
Oh, well, I'd be interested in knowing them about yours.
Is that a thing people do?
Some?
Well, I suppose there's not much to tell about that. I spoke to her earlier today. Yes, earlier today. The other day.
Just spoke? And he'll nudge you with his elbow. Did you do anything else with your mouth? Or is that not an elven thing? We can kind of like fade away from that conversation.
Yeah.
But yeah, Zigmars will rib you for a little while on that, but you guys can get back to talking business. Niev, during this time you've been taking some more natural time, I believe you said, some time to reflect on nature and plan a party. When do you want to kind of have this dinner party?
So, how soon would we be able to move into the bigger place? Or would I be able to move into the bigger place?
It'll take roughly a week and a half from when you guys are get back into town.
Okay. Because I was kind of thinking it would be nice, like, to have the first official dinner party of the new place.
Okay. So
I
maybe
was,
at about the 2-week mark, you can get everything set up and in place, and
yeah.
okay. In the interim, while you're sort of doing your druidic duties, we'll say, there is one of the days where you're kind of out in the garden. There is sort of a small creature that starts like kind of flitting around your garden. Doesn't really say anything. You feel like you recognize it, but it just like comes around. At first you think it's a bug, and then you start to realize like it doesn't move like a bug does. It moves sort of methodically, and it's like trying to stay out of your view deliberately. But then eventually it takes a like stand on one of the like flowers you have out in your garden. And just kind of looks at you and leans and waits, and you can see it's like got a more humanoid-like body. You would know this to be some kind of pixie.
Oh. Hello there.
Hi.
What's your name?
I don't remember.
Oh. I'm sorry to hear that. Do you need help?
I do. Believe you speak for the Fae?
I do.
Where are they now?
Would I know this?
Give me a knowledge nature check.
Okay.
And I'm gonna ask you a very important question.
Okay.
How willing to try to think on the memories of the other yous that you've encountered so far are you willing to like sort of try?
I mean, I think Nia would want to help if she could, so she would be fairly willing to try and use whatever means she could to get an answer for this thing.
Give me a will save then.
Okay.
Go along with that knowledge nature. Okay. Your stance shifts. And would you say that your current memorized spells for the day are accurate?
Probably.
Okay, let's take a look here. Just have to check a couple of things because you do sort of have an array. You don't exactly have the array that I was expecting. So you might not like the results of this. Let me make sure though, as this, oh no, that's right, that has that limitation. Okay, so that part doesn't work. Part of this does. You have the other end of this. No, does not look like it. But you will, yeah, you will sort of like, kind of lose a bit of like sight of self, and you'll feel like a you'll feel not only a memory but like a personality come forward, and it will like kind of lean into the Fae and go, it's moved. It had other places it had to go. But don't worry, I can get you there. And you will reach out to the pixie and extend your hand. And the pixie will step up on your hand. And you will... One sec here. You will step into the plant, one of your plants.
Excellent.
And when you step out, you are standing... Hang on one sec, let me change this music. Where'd it go? Oh, add you. Why is it all breaking? I had it all lined up. I feel like I've gone crazy, or like I didn't delete a playlist, right? Oh, I must have deleted all the forest tracks. That's so dumb. God damn it. I had to have clicked something wrong. One sec. There we go. You step out of the plants into a very dark and twisted kind of landscape. The trees do not have a very natural shape. They have a very whimsical yet very sinister feel to them as you step out into this area. Think kind of like a Tim Burton forest, if you will. Light still manages to make its way through the trees, but the light has this very... Even the light feels dim as it gets in, like there's enough light to see, but not enough light to provide any illumination to things. Everything still has this kind of grayish, blackish appearance to it. But in the distance, you can see the large stone tower that you would know to be the New Feyan consulate. You can start to guide this little pixie over to this place.
I would do so.
It's so different than it was before.
Yes, it's not quite as I remember it.
Are you sure this is the right place?
I believe so.
You eventually will reach the like a clearing in the area, and you can see the tower before you, and in the center of this clearing is a very large and very familiar to Niev creature. That large creature with the snout that you saw eat Gul'ran stands center to this place. But its appearance twisted now. Something that was hard to notice in the heat of battle. But you can see like bits of like Feyan sort of fur and tonation to the skin that's there. Bits of like oak or redwood coloration to the skin. Bits of like more of like a soft animal fur, but still grungy and dirty, and slightly stained with blood. There is something filled with nature and wonderment about this creature, but also something sinister and foul about this creature. And the creature kind of leans down as you come forward, and it lets out a deep breath of air that it pulled in as it lowered itself, and its snout kind of pushes you back a bit as it breathes. And in Sylvan, it will speak to you. You speak Sylvan, correct?
Yes, I do.
Times they are changing.
What has happened? Why is this all different?
It's been changing for some time. I have been changing it, and it changing me. There are things and places that must change, that must be made different and better. I am made better by your people, and I will make you better, like my people. And you will continue to be our speaker, our emissary. The consulate is very happy we can reach stronger accords when you were sent far beyond the wall to be with your family. We had great plans for your work as our emissary. But it seems like all things, memory is very fleeting. We took chances getting you there. Passing you through the hells was not easy. Please understand, we have such great intentions for the world, for its people, for the life. People like your friend, Gulran, they wish to coat the world in a layer of empty, cold stone. We want to fill it with life.
And what must I do?
Help spread the knowledge that we are willing to work with your world from ours. We want to be allies.
I will take that message back to the other place.
Good. And don't be afraid to be yourself, Niev. Let yourself out from time to time. And I will need another will save from Niev, as that is spoken. Ooh. So you can choose not to accept this. This is an effect that doesn't leave the same magical impression that like a dominate spell cast on you would, even though it does have a sort of mental twist that would come with it. So it doesn't feel like somebody was trying to manipulate your thoughts, but you also feel like you are of clear head to make whatever decision you want. But you feel like what it's saying is that you should take more time to, in a more fan form, and start like leaving behind your current terrestrial body.
Okay. I would say, well, I have the ability to do that, but I believe I need something Feyan in order to do that.
A dryad will step out from a tree, and as she does so, she will pull out a couple of small bags and hand them to you. Make sure I'm remembering the spell correctly as you say that. 1 second here. Yeah, that's what I thought. These are little pieces of who you were, kept for you as you shifted from time to time. Take them with you and remember why you were loved by us.
And what of this little one? And I'll sort of gesture to the pixie.
You'll gesture and you'll notice the pixie kind of isn't there. Just a way to call you forth. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Niev. You are great value to us.
Interesting.
And you can basically step back through a plant to get back. I think normally you have to do it, it's one casting to go from one point to another. But in this case, there is a sort of connecting point that will let you take your way back. You may now transport via plants to the I don't want to call it the fan realm, because that's not really an accurate statement, because it does exist somewhere in the world. So you will call it the fan realm, but I don't want you to get the idea that like it exists in a different plane of existence. You are still going to a material place that people could discover. Just very difficult to discover. And it doesn't, the ability to transport doesn't give you knowledge of where that place is, but you know where that, you know what that place is, so you can get there, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay.
It'd be kind of like, almost like, if you know of a place, you can teleport to it almost.
Mm-hmm. Even if you don't know where that place is.
Yes.
But yeah, you can return to your gardening. And I need to know if over the next few days you do decide to, from time to time, take fan form.
So actually I would, but first I probably would try and find Antaeus and tell him what happened and like kind of what's going on, since he had kind of wanted to experiment with that as well.
Yeah.
Because he had actually given me, like a while back, he had given me an extract of Fey form that I never used back then. So
Well, that
I
works
probably
out.
would.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Oh, I was probably find him and like tell him what happened, and kind of, you know, since he would be interested in that, just let him be there when I try that.
Very good. I think then he also has some things that he wants to speak to you, so you two can kind of find each other at the same time. But we'll find out what the two of you want to discuss after a short break. See you shortly.
mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance. Do you want to be a champion? I mean that sincerely. Do you actually want to be a champion? I've seen what you can do. You're good. Maybe even good enough. But you're lazy. Most of the time you just sit there judging others for their mistakes. When you know you could do better. Well, now's your chance.
Yeah, so Antaeus and Niev, you can inevitably find each other. You both have had a lot of things you want to discuss with each other, or at least you now do. And I think around you guys kind of get to that same point around the same time. And so Niev, you're probably in the yard when Antaeus finds you. But I mean, you've been kind of waiting for him to be back in the area anyway. He's been away a lot more often than usual the last few days.
Hey, Antaeus. You're finally home. Or finally back, I guess.
Yeah, I've been doing some research, unsurprisingly, trying to get my head in order. Things have been very strange, as you know, as of late.
Yeah, you could definitely say strange things are happening.
Yes, so, I don't mean to be rude, and this wasn't fully a, recreational, visit, unfortunately, but I did have a small favor to ask, if you don't mind.
Well, I'll help if I can. What is it?
I'll, call over my mastiff and, well, believe it or not, I have difficulty bonding with animals.
Oh, okay.
And as you are the most druidic person I know, and you and Hunter seem to have a very fond bond of each other, I thought maybe you could help us.
Sure. Like, do you need help training him, or?
Well, it's more just along the lines of, I don't know if necessarily training is the thing I was looking for, but, perhaps to become more, acclimated with each other. I don't even know where to begin, honestly.
Have you? Okay, well, I'm not meaning to harp on this, Antaeus. I don't mean any disrespect. But have you
Yes,
chosen a name?
Yes, I have chosen a name.
Well, that's a good starting place to form a bond.
Yes, I went over a lot of things, and I wanted to make sure that I picked a name that felt appropriate, picked a name that they liked.
Names have a lot of meaning, and there's nothing wrong with waiting till you find the right one.
The Mastiff shakes its head.
So, what is their name?
We decided on Najee.
Najee. Niev will look at the massive. Nice to meet you, Najee.
It will like make the softest kind of oof sound. And as it does so, you feel like a little shiver down your spine.
Well, that's a very intimidating boy.
Yeah, that's something that came equipped with prior to meeting
the Mastiff makes a kind of like sort of growled, almost laughing noise as he says equipped with.
Guess I deserve that. But yes, I just I feel bad for not trying to bond with them and her. I kind of like look at Najee when I say that, especially given the circumstances of the gender.
Yeah, this is one of those situations where Najee will look back at you and like almost for a moment give you like this kind of like ununderstanding what you mean kind of look. Do either of you have any ranks in knowledge the planes?
Knowledge.
Of course. I have a rank in that.
So
I have a rank.
So I can make. Ooh.
Yeah, between the two of you, this is something I think would be pretty hard to know for certain. But you'll know that these creatures are sort of asexual's not the right word.
Gender fluid isn't the correct word either, but it's
no,
apt.
they don't. Yeah, they don't really have a gender or a sex or like any sort of that association. These things just kind of live, and when they die, they kind of go dormant. And what sort of happened is you've put the shadow into its slumber, and it will eventually awaken somewhere else in the shadows. But when it awakens, it will have no memory or concept of what it was if it was not brought back via magical means. And these things this rest can last a very, very long time. But it does put a limit on spells like Resurrection and True Resurrection, in that if the shadow has remanifested later on, then you no longer can bring it back because it has formed in a new body.
Yes, I suppose I'll just call you by your name then? For the time being. Unless there's something you prefer, but it's hard for you to articulate that, but okay. I'm glad you at least understand the words I'm saying. But yes, I figured it'd be best to come to you. You seem to be the most knowledgeable, and well, they do seem to understand Common and aren't able to speak it. I feel weird just not knowing how to interact with them.
Oh, it's okay. I'll help in any way I can.
Excellent. Thank you.
I'm not sure if I'm supposed to make a check or.
No, this will be kind of like a. I had a thought that came to mind, and now I can't remember the terms I was going to use, but it's going to be a bit like teaching Antaeus how to be a person.
That's fair.
More than anything else. Like, this is less about your skill with animals, because very quickly into this, you're going to realize that, like, there's a big difference between what Najee understands and what Hunter understands. With Hunter, like, you tell him a trick, and he does the trick. With Najee, you can be very literal about what you want Najee to do, and Najee will choose whether or not to do it. Like, there's no commanding here. It's like, Najee, go do this thing. And Najee might just stop, look at you, and go, fuck that, I'm taking a nap. And that way Najee is more cat than dog.
Basically, you don't have enough badges to guarantee that it's going to do what you ask.
Yes.
But yes, I will.
I'll make little snacks for Antaeus and reward him when he gets it right.
You'd probably be none the wiser, just assume that this is how this is done. Although, I will, for flavor's sake, utilize my occult skill at some point during this.
And what are you trying to read the aura of?
I suppose when we're doing some of these training exercises, I would do the, I guess the more in-depth one would be the emotional aura. I can copy it into tech to chat.
No, it's fine.
Just kind of see how they're feeling about what's going on. And like I said, it's mostly for flavor, if nothing else. Like if we're doing something to try to see if I'm doing things right.
So very weird the way this works.
Yeah.
Yeah, so give me a sense motive to follow that up.
Good. Gauge.
Oh yeah, thank you. Ooh.
That's about right.
Yeah, you have no idea. There's something about the fact, probably that the Mastiff is like dark on dark on dark. Like the face, the snout, the eyes, and like kind of the way the shadows wave around it, that make it really hard to kind of read what this thing is thinking or feeling. Even with the intensive insights that you have from your abilities.
Mm-hmm. Well then.
Yeah, I think the emotional aura is probably the weakest of the abilities here.
Yeah,
or the most difficult to accomplish of the abilities here.
Yeah, the other ones seem pretty good situationally, and it was also kind of a reminder for me to utilize those more often because some of them can be pretty useful.
But I believe Niev during this has something she wants to bring up with Antaeus as well, eventually.
Yes. So it's good that you sought me out, Antaeus. I was actually looking for you as well. I've actually had something happen over the last couple of days I thought you might be interested in.
Oh?
Well, I was working in the garden, and I was visited by a pixie.
Pixie.
Yes, it was asking where the Fae had gone. As you recall, I'm basically one of their speakers or emissaries.
Yes.
Well, I kind of tapped into that side of me, and I was able to go into one of my plants, and when I came out the other side, I was actually in the Phaean Empire, the Stone Tower, the consulate. And it was very.
This would not be an Arcana check.
Oh.
Continue. Well, we'll get to that. Wait to make the check until she's
That's
finished.
fine.
It was very dark, and it was kind of creepy. But at the tower, there was the demon that we fought. But it wasn't like itself. It was also part Fae. And it told me that you wanted me to basically speak for the Fae and to tell, I'm assuming, the ministry that that they're willing to negotiate, as well as he gave me the means to become my Faean self if I wish.
Really?
You remember you had given me that concoction a while back that would have turned me into a Fae? Well,
Fae form?
yes. Well, I do have that ability myself, but it requires, as you know, a piece of the Fae, and they saved pieces from when I was a Fae.
From when you were a Fae.
In another life.
And they saved those. Interesting. Very interesting. Did they give those to you?
I will pull out the pouches.
Yeah.
I'll kind of try to look through them with if she allows me without disturbing any of it.
Yeah.
As much as possible.
Yeah, you can look through them. And
Find hair and toenail clippings.
And a dagger. Stabby.
There is some hair in one of the bags. There is what look kind of like wood chips in another bag.
Wood chips?
Wood chips. Me too. There is some dust in another bag. I'm sorry, not dust. There is some dew in another bag.
Some dew?
Some dew. Give me a knowledge and nature for each of these three. And I'll give them I'll give you the results in the order. Each of you can give it to me. Give it to me, players! Alright, so Antaeus, you only give me one. There we go. Thank you.
I didn't know if you wanted to do...
Okay, so the first one, Antaeus will recognize the hair. This is... In a sec, I have to remember what this was called. I have a different name, and I never remember what they're called. One... No, I can't. Should have written it down. You know the first one. Essentially, the first one is a sort of... it's as close to what would be considered a half-fae as possible. This is like sort of the final adaptation that Fae can reach to blend in with human civilization. A lot of the the things... It's hard to explain this as I realize I'm trying to say the words. Like, there's something very naturally natural about Fae. Fae have this kind of blend of like being pure of nature or being connected to nature, and this sort of Faean creature has a very like Feyan outward appearance while still retaining some of the like Feyan ideas. Niev, you would recognize this as he explains what he's seeing here as probably being the form you took right before you came into this one. This would be a form that, like, from what you've learned about yourself, you've been kind of trying to be as human as possible, and this is kind of like you finally reaching a very human form. The second one, however, I think is pretty rudimentary, that between the two of you, you can recognize it. At some point in between there, you were a dryad. That is what you see in the blend between these two. The last one, Antaeus, I'm going to ask you a question separately before you would tell Niev what it is. If you found out you had one of the most valuable drug components that you could possibly have in your hands at this very moment, do you think you would tell Niev sincerely what this is?
I suppose that would depend.
You know that this would be profound. This would give you profound results if it works on her, but using a lot of it would be kind of a waste of the use, potentially, if not in the right circumstance. Whereas you could make so much more money being able to use this.
Well, actually, I have it selected, but I probably wouldn't, under normal circumstances, have Fae form on my daily list.
Mm-hmm.
But I assumed that if I was talking to her, that I would have to have it prepared for tomorrow anyway. So I went ahead and just did that, so that after the conversation, I don't have to switch it over to whatever I would do. And have I seen this before?
You have never seen this before. That you're aware of. There are a very limited number of these creatures left. In fact, you have helped shrink the population of them personally.
Collectively we have, or me?
Collectively.
Okay. Well, good. That spreads the blame around a little bit. I guess...
Did the next question be, if she turns into this using Fae form, can you get more of it than you would get by just taking what's here? Without killing her, just harvesting it.
She likes stabbing, right? I'm assuming it goes both ways.
You wouldn't get this by stabbing.
Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like I would let her know.
Okay.
I believe that I would let her know all of that information, though.
So you will let her know that what you have in your hand is nymph stew. Nymph stew is incredibly valuable on the street. It allows you to experience an ecstasy like none other. There are people who spend their whole life hoping for just 1 second opportunity to taste nymph stew. And most people will never find that second opportunity. Especially, as you know, the nymph trade became explosive for some time. There are a large number of groups of people who claim that they trade in these creatures, but you've never actually seen one, and many of these people have never paraded them. This is the kind of thing where you have to get pretty underground to even start really asking questions about it that aren't just going to be like, oh yeah, I was with a nymph once, I totally was with one, it was great. It was
even
incredible.
a little too underground for my tastes, I'm sure.
Maybe. I mean, for what your tastes are, yeah, I'd probably say less about it being too underground and more about being what the experience is about, being outside of your tastes.
That too. I suppose I would probably wonder about the how I don't want to say harvested because I'm afraid that that's going to be the answer, but how you acquire nymph stew.
So nymph stew is acquired via the via what would normally be considered the nether regions. We'll use that word to be like I don't know, me being as calm as possible about the statement. Essentially, there is a sort of flowering system that is set up between nymphs. Nymphs can mate with other types of fae, and they use this sort of flower to be what's the word I'm looking for? Pollinated by other fae, and nymph stew generates from that flower. It's not flower in the sense necessarily like there would be like a flower suddenly popping up down there, but it is very floral in design and in scent. People are said to be able to experience great pleasure merely from being able to take a whiff of a nymph's like dew from a distance.
And this is something that could be theoretically obtained without harming a nymph per se.
Yes, it is possible to obtain it without harming a nymph, but it does require a sort of process of, we'll call it milking, I guess is the best way to put it.
But it's not.
Yeah, I like your look, Whitney, because I don't really feel like that's the best way to put it, but
it would be something that could be obtained without having to cause harm to them, essentially.
Yes, in theory. In fact, oftentimes a nymph will not produce dew if it is not in a calm state. Like if it's panicked or if it's like feeling aggressed upon, it cannot produce dew.
I guess it would be remiss of me not to do this.
This is the hard part. Nymph stew has different values in different ways, but a dose of nymph stew, even at this size, could be worth in the realms of tens of thousands of gold.
It's something that whatever somebody would be willing to pay for because there's not enough of it to really gain an accurate estimation of it.
Yeah. And it's incredibly addictive as well. So one dose of nymph stew, especially to somebody who's previously tasted nymph stew, is in an immediate jumping back on the train, and they are going to be losing their minds for quite some time.
Remove disease? Yes? No?
No, remove disease does not overtake that.
I guess I feel a little upset about that, but I'll go after a while. Well, I mean, if they don't have access to it, they wouldn't be able to. Anyways, I'll kind of ramble off all of the information, including the drug information and the relative estimation of the cost, the potential benefits of it as well. But I don't think I would hide that from her because I don't know. There's not really any reason for me to. This is something that. Oh, these are things that they gave you in order to achieve your nymph form.
Well, they wanted me to be myself more, which means being fae. So these are all forms that I've taken in the past.
Did they give you instructions on how to utilize them?
I have, there's a spell that I can use. It's the same spell that you have.
Ah, I understand. I'm assuming these would be used as components in order to Okay.
Yes.
Given the nature of that spell, I don't typically have it prepared most days, but we could do this tomorrow if you'd like.
Yes, I thought that since you are always experimenting, I guess, you kind of always are looking to experiment, that you would want to possibly record the results of this as well.
Absolutely. This is fascinating, especially given how few interactions we've had. We as a city and just have had with the Fae that aren't fatal, I guess, or driving people mad. This would be good information to have because it could be possible to convince at least some of the higher ups that not all Faes are the type that we've encountered. Although I am still a little concerned that you've met with that creature, that demon Fae. I'm not sure what to call it anymore.
He said that he was changing the Fae and that the Fae were changing him.
Did you believe that? Just out of curiosity.
I have no reason not to believe that. I mean, it would make sense as to what we know of how the Fae got corrupted.
That's true. I know I always have a hard time reading that type of thing about people, so I wasn't sure if it was something.
Well, I didn't have the
Anyways.
presence of mind to really think too deeply on what his possible motivations, but he didn't seem to mean me harm, more that he wanted to negotiate.
I suppose that's good at the very least. At least those doors are open to some degree. Steve, about the thing I was trying to figure out earlier. I was trying to figure out whether or not it was like tree stride that was being used or something to that effect.
It sounds like it's similar. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. Yes. How much of this nymph stew is there in here?
There's not a lot. Nymph stew would sell by the droplet. And the reagents required for Fae form would be by the droplet. So there are probably about 5 uses within the bag.
Would a droplet of that be enough to gain any kind of information for alchemical purposes?
Perhaps, but you'd be carrying around a very expensive thing, and you'd have to entrust other people to not take their own desires of it.
Yes, I could do some studying of it myself. I have a pretty good craft alchemy, but I don't know if that's more for the application of it than it is the understanding of it.
You could use it the same way.
Okay. In that case, if you don't mind, feel free to say no, but would it be too much to ask for a droplet of this?
I think a droplet wouldn't hurt.
It should only take about one of them for you to achieve that form anytime that you do it. And I'd like to understand the properties of this a little bit more. I think given the addictive nature of the substance, it'd probably be best for me to not hand this off to one of my subordinates to as an undertaking, because well, who knows what could happen there. And their understanding of alchemy isn't quite as high as mine is. But yes, I could prepare this for tomorrow. For the Fae form, would I need to use some of these ingredients in it for it to have that effect, presumably?
Yes, the way that it works for me is that I have to have a piece of whatever Fae I'm turning into.
Oh, it sure does. I could have just read that. Oh, certainly. Do you happen to have a preference?
perhaps some of the I will try with the hair.
Certainly. If you'd like, I could just take the hair, a little bit of the hair, and put that in something separate, and same with the dew, and then leave the rest with you, so that way nothing happens to it, and no reason to worry about it. And then in the morning, I will bring this back to you, and excellent. Thank you again for the help with the training earlier as well.
Oh, certainly, I'm happy to.
I wonder if I haven't used anything like that. Anyways, yes. What time of day is it?
It's, I don't know, it can be whatever time of day. It's sort of irrelevant. Time is just kind of going right now.
Okay.
It's vacation time, so like we're not paying attention to.
Yeah, if it's not evening, he'll try to figure out an awkward way to end the conversation without just going home.
In the meanwhile, all of you will be given your stipend, your reward for your accomplishments. All of you can take home 3,000 platinum pieces, or 300 sapphire if you prefer. In addition to that, Ivy, you are given a little extra piece of information. And in this particular case, Rian shows up at your house to deliver this information.
Hello?
Let me in, Ivy.
Oh,
Let's
God.
not play games.
Okay. I'll open the door and just, step aside.
He'll step in and wait for you to shut the door.
Shut the door.
A lot of time and effort has gone into what I've done for you. I hope you understand that this is not me. This is not me just giving out favors. This is me actually having to take care of something that I don't understand why you yourself didn't take care of, but no matter. I'm happy to do this for you as part of your employ with us. I must make it clear that as I share this information with you, anything you do with this information is not ministry business. This has nothing to do with myself or whatever your personal issues are. That understood? Good.
Understood.
There are a few things that I have come to learn about you, and things that make me feel rather uncomfortable, but you seem to be in control of yourself, so I feel it's no cause for alarm. I won't bore you with details, because I know if I were to ramble on about information, you would just simply get bored and stop listening.
You know me well.
But to put it simply, you are a collector of shadows of sorts. I'm sure if my hypothesis is correct and you have been able to speak with them, as word is that one of them has been taken into your weapon, that they are urging you towards the deserts, towards the twisting sands.
More or less, that's correct.
This would be a personal goal you could choose to take on if you wished. Deep within the twisting sands, there does lie there a creature that is, according to legend, sealed there long ago by Thoth that makes the sands twist in the way that they do. A creature of raw, arcane magic and chaos joined together and sealed there to keep this country in better order. It draws away the chaos and extravagancies of this world and keeps things in line. However, in order to destroy such a creature, you must have certain things work out in a way. As word is told, or as legend is told, gods cannot kill the entities of either magic or ideas. But one made up of those two can do so. If you choose to go there, you can do a great service to this world, because chaos still manages to escape from that twisted place. And you could do about cleaning things up. And if our research is correct, you would grow rather immense in power in doing so. And then you might just be ready for the last of the issues you'll need to deal with. This probably never got brought up to you, but are you aware you have a twin? He looks very proud as he asks that question.
No.
Your parents weren't either. It's the most strange thing. Your birth was not in the confines of a city, but in what would have once been the Phaean Empire. Your parents needed a place where you could be brought in this world without the prying eyes of the rest of the world. And so you were born, but as a trade, as a deal, the Fae got to keep one, and they got to keep the other. And they would trade the memory of this other one for the one they would have. You're a mess of sorts. Your birth was, from what I've found, a disaster. The Fae could not keep your brother, and he found his way out of their world. He resides in the City of Ever-Changing Names, and he has been quite successful there. He prepares to take his new seat as leader, namesake of the city. It would actually be of our benefit if you did something about him, and rewards would fall on you should you be able to accomplish such a thing, but they would not be from the ministry. They would be from a private equities company interested in the furtherance of ministry affairs. A sort of special development company well connected to the ministry.
Interesting. Since you seem to know everything, what part does my brother play in the curse on my family?
He has also been collecting the pieces. Though he is aware of what the benefit of collecting the pieces are, he has learned that he doesn't need a weapon to store them. He can store them in himself. your family, in order to keep you safe, planned for things to go a certain way in your birth. They knew the exchange. The Fae were to keep your brother from meddling in the affairs of the world. Well, they prepared a ritual to make sure that you would be able to accomplish the goals that your father had failed at.
Interesting.
If you can, according to what we've read, kill him, then you should have everything you need to return to your father's, your great, I forget how many are in theirs, grave, mausoleum, whatever it may be. Give me a gauge check. I don't know if you have any ranks, but it's still worth you giving me a gauge check here as he's saying this. I should really be rolling this, but I'll let you do it.
Well, it's probably not going to be pretty anyways.
That's fine. There's still something, like, weird about how much he knows about this, and I think you're already kind of picking up on that as a player. But it, as to why, it doesn't quite strike you. Your family all knows something that you're not aware of, though. If you're successful, or the end of the line, you won't be saving your parents. I mean, in a way you will. You won't be saving your grandparents, your great-great-great-great-grandparents. And he leans in very close to you and whispers to you, "Won't even be saving yourself." And he pulls back. But the choice is yours to make. I, personally, think you should kill your brother. And then maybe just kill yourself. End this whole thing. But
Thanks for the information. I think it's time for you to leave.
very well. I knew you wouldn't like my suggestion. They never do. Not you, but people in these weird situations like this. The Ministry gets so many weirdos from time to time. And he'll, like, open the door and leave.
Go kill my brother and go kill him.
And I think with that, we will wrap up for tonight. I know, John, we didn't get as much with Gul'ran, but there is a lot more to come. We will see how things happen next week. I guess in 2 weeks, we'll be taking a break from this game next week. And we may be doing something a little different. Keep your eyes peeled. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching.